Hello again. Next I'm going to show you how to prepare and start sawing. So there's a few different tools that you're going to need. If you're doing this at home and you don't just have like a kind of crappy basement table to work on, or like an outside bench or something like that, that if it dings up a little bit it's not a big deal. One thing that you can do is with your bench pin, so this is your bench pin, you can grab like a thick stack of newspapers and place it underneath. Or if you have like a couple pieces of scrap wood, you can put a piece of scrap wood underneath that and then one underneath the table. And then you're gonna grab your C-clamp. So this is the C-clamp here. This is gonna hold your bench pin in place, okay? You're gonna place your C-clamp on the opposite side of your dominant hand. So I'm a lefty, so I'm gonna put my C-clamp on the right side so it's not getting in the way of when I'm sawing. So you're just gonna tighten that from the bottom. So that's tight and it's not moving. Again, if you are working on a nicer table, you'd make sure to sandwich that like scrap wood underneath between the table and the bench pin. Same for underneath if you're worried about like under the table getting dinged up as well. So now I have my bench pin in place and my C-clamp in place, and I'm going to grab my saw frame. So this is a jeweler's saw frame. Okay, it looks a little bit different than like your standard saw, pretty small. It has that kind of like C or backward C shape to it. You're then going to grab a blade. These saw blades are super, super thin and very breakable, okay? I guarantee if this is your first time sawing, you're going to break some blades. It's just going to happen. So it's good to start practicing getting that saw blade on, because you will probably have to replace them a few times. So the most important thing when you're using or starting to use your saw is number one, safety. So make sure that you have your safety glasses on. Second thing that you always want to make sure of is that the teeth, and let's see if I can get this close without it blurring. Probably not. This is an old iPad. All right. The teeth on this saw blade should be facing down and out, okay? So if I'm holding this in my hand and if I like go upward with my finger, it should kind of feel like thistly and like almost like it kind of hurts, okay? If I go down, it should feel like pretty smooth, like it's a little rigid, but it shouldn't feel like it's gonna cut my finger, okay? So you want the teeth of the saw to go down and outward, okay? All right, now for attaching the saw blade to the saw frame. You're gonna take the saw frame and just rest it in your bench pin. So this is like the V of your bench pin. This top part, just rest it right in there. And then you can't see this right now, but I have like the handle of my saw just kind of like right into like, kind of like my abdomen, just kind of like holding it up, okay? You're then gonna take the saw blade, make sure that the teeth are facing down and out, okay? And you're then going to place it right in the top, okay? So that tiny little saw blade is gonna go in between these two pieces of metal, and I push it all the way up to the top, so you can kind of see there, it goes all the way to the top. Don't have it like end right there, okay? So go all the way to the top, tighten it up, nice and tight. Then I'm gonna do the same thing at the bottom, okay? So if I just go and tighten it right here though, there's not really gonna be any tension. So see how wobbly that is? So I'm gonna take that out. I'm going to put the top of my saw blade or saw frame back in my bench pin, and I'm gonna use my hand and like push, let's see if we can show it here. I'm gonna use the saw frame and my left hand, and I'm gonna push it into kind of the inside, okay? So I'm pushing it just to create that tension. And while I'm still pushing in, then I'm gonna tighten that bottom. Okay? Now, the trick to like knowing if it's good to go or not, you should be able to like, almost like pluck it like a guitar string, and it should sound tight, okay? It shouldn't really move much, okay? If it's like wobbly still, then it's not tight enough, all right? I'm then gonna double check and just make sure I put it in right. So my teeth, so you can see my saw frame here, okay? So my teeth for the saw blade are facing down and out that way, okay? So they're like at an angle. right? Sorry for the camera movement. Okay, so now my saw is ready to go. I'm gonna place my metal on my bench pin. And I'm going to make sure that my metal is kind of in like the V of my bench pin, okay? I don't want to go all the way up here, or I'm just going to be sawing right in the wood of the bench pin. So I'm just going to start with the simple like straight line first, okay? When you first start, you want to make sure to take a little bit of wax and wax your blade, just like one line, and then you're good, okay? I always start in like an upward motion at an angle. Just kind of get that groove in there. And then put it straight up and down. Adjust this just a hair. There we go. Okay. Then once you have that groove in there, then you're just going to go straight up and down. So nice and slow, making sure your fingers are not in the way of the line of your saw blade. You can also kind of like do the peace sign and then saw in between your two fingers like that. But you never want to have like your hand in front. You can ask me why. I have heard lots of stories of why that's bad, okay? You can cut yourself pretty bad.